Critical Role Campaign 4 is finally now announced with a whole lot of shakeup to their established formula. Lots of new things that have been announced and a couple things that weren't talked about, but I'm pretty sure everybody already knows. The biggest mix-up is that it's not going to be DM'd by Matthew Mercer. He's going to be a player in this campaign, and instead, Brennan Lee Mulligan from Dropout is going to be the DM for Campaign 4. Brennan is one of my favorite DMs I've ever watched for any type of campaign, and he's always a joy to watch just run narratives and situations just through increasingly incredible scenarios. And we so very rarely get to see Matthew as a player, and the very few times we do, it is such an interesting, unique thing to see him finally take a step back from controlling everything and just having control of one character. And it's a joy that we get to see that now for a long-term campaign, which is going to be excellent. It's also not going to be set in Exandria. They didn't say where it's going to be set, but if I had to guess, it's probably going to be one of Daggerheart's campaign settings. Which goes into the other thing that they did not announce. They did not say what system Campaign 4 would be using, but we all know it's going to be Daggerheart. Daggerheart is selling out like fucking gangbusters right now. They cannot keep up with the stock. Fucking global wide, it is selling out faster than anything they've ever made. They also have Christopher Perkins and Jeremy Crawford from Wizards of the Coast now working on Daggerheart. If anybody thinks they're going to play D&D for Campaign 4, you're delusional at this point. They have no reason to keep themselves tied to Wizards of the Coast whatsoever anymore. They would actively be harming their own product and their own company by playing Dungeons and Dragons again. So even if they didn't announce what game system they're going to be playing in October, we all know it's Daggerheart. There's no way it wouldn't be Daggerheart. Now, which Daggerheart campaign setting are they going to be playing in? I honestly don't know, but I do not think it's going to be Age of Umbra. The 8-episode miniseries was a fantastical thing to watch, and they also confirmed that Age of Umbra Season 2 is going to be happening, but they didn't put a whole lot of details into that, but they did say that is coming, and that is going to be a separate thing from Campaign 4. There's no way they're going to run two different games both in the Age of Umbra setting. It's just too much. Also, the Age of Umbra really works for short-term stories. It's a very dark, grim universe, and you can only sit in like grim, dark areas for so long before it just becomes, I wouldn't say a burden, but just like bleh. I don't need words. Bleh is all you need to know. The other thing they did not announce, and I don't know how this will work because of other things we're going to talk about, but they didn't talk about if Robbie Daymond is going to be coming back for Campaign 4. And before we dive too much into that, they did say that there's going to be new people in Campaign 4 as well, which, to be honest, I'm not super jazzed about. For me personally, the lower points of the most recent campaign, Campaign 3, was when they got split across the entire continent, and we did like several episodes with the small group here, and then we did several episodes with the small group here, and both of them had guest players coming in, and it never really clicks with me. And it's not that I hate guest players or anything, far from it. I just don't enjoy when guest players show up because you know that they're guest players, you know that they're not in it for the long haul, so there's no reason to get attached or get interested in their characters because their characters aren't going to be here. Robbie Daymond is like the only exception to that because he started initially right off the hop in Campaign 4 and then kind of bobbed in and out for a little bit and then left completely and then came back at the end. So it was far more interesting to get involved in his character, but all the other ones were just there for a short stint and then gone. Yes, some of them come back later, but most of the time they're just there to fill a little area, to have some fun, and then they disappear. So it's like, it doesn't matter. It's just filler. And again, it's not like I don't like when you have guest players on the show. It's a nice way to mix things up and keep things fresh and interesting. Deborah Ann Wool coming in was a great addition. Is same with Patrick Rothfuss as well in Campaign 1. Great additions. Entertaining to see. But I don't know, just the way they did it in Campaign 3 with the two parties split and then having some people just kind of helping them out and then disappearing was, oh, so bland. It was just such a fucking skip, just get everyone back together. This shit's boring. So it has me a little nervous when they announced that Campaign 4 is going to be happening and Matthew is going to be at the table playing, which means that the party is now going up to, again, 8 players. Think about that right now. The party size is already massive with 7 people playing, 8 if Robbie is there. Now you're adding Matthew as a player. So if Robbie is there, that is a party size of 9 people. Even if Robbie is not there, it is still a party size of 8 fucking players. I've DM'd for 8 players before for like 2 sessions, and it was unfucking believable. My maximum is 6. I've done campaigns with 7. It's rough, but I've done it. And they are looking at playing with 8 as the norm. 9 if Robbie is involved. The problem you get when you get to a party that big is just campaigns take forever because you have all these different people who have their own stories that they also want to fulfill. So you have to go through all their different backstories. Combat takes agonizingly forever. Even with Daggerheart's bit of a faster type combat, you still have 8 fucking players at the table. That shit is going to take all session long. And also when you split across all those different players, all those players now have less and less time to shine and get involved with their own characters because they have to share the table with 7 other people. You just diminish the light from everybody else for so much. And no matter what size group you are, there's always going to be some groups that have a player who is more involved, more actively engaging, and other people who are less involved and less actively engaging. And the more people you add to the table, just the bigger that problem becomes. But nonetheless, I am very excited to see a big mix-up to the formula that Critical Role has kind of been needing. Campaign 1 was fine. Campaign 1 for me is not my favorite. Campaign 2 is definitely the best, but Campaign 1, they're testing the waters, they're really getting involved, and they went from playing a home game, like a home game, to then slowly transitioning it into a bit more of a live stream game. Campaign 2 was the perfect middle ground where it still felt like a home game with live game elements to it, and Campaign 3 was just, honestly, not great. It didn't feel like it had any really cool arcs. The characters were honestly pretty bland and just either boring or annoying. And everyone was just like weird and chaotic for the sake of, fuck it, let's just be weird and chaotic for one campaign. Why not? Let's just throw shit at the wall. And it's just, none of it stuck. So I think for Campaign 4, having a different DM in a different setting with a different game system, and it's going to feel very, very fresh. And it's also going to just help sell Daggerheart more. Will Robbie Daymond be involved? I don't know, probably. He's a fan-loved character and he loves being on the show, so I don't see why not. I found it a bit weird they didn't announce it, but maybe they're still trying to figure out that plan. Who knows? I can't see him not being involved though. But I am excited for October, and I'm really excited to see how this campaign does, especially because now we're entering a little bit of a new territory where the last 3 major campaigns were running Dungeons & Dragons. So you had people who were fans of Dungeons & Dragons tuning into Critical Role. But now, with Campaign 4, all but announcing that it's going to be run with Daggerheart, now we have a new conundrum. How many people are going to be tuning into Critical Role because it's Critical Role or because it's Daggerheart, versus people who are turning into Critical Role because it's a D&D live show? Because you have to remember, a lot of people tune into Critical Role because it is the biggest Dungeons and Dragons live show. But now it's not Dungeons and Dragons anymore. Is that still going to be a draw for Critical Role? Does Critical Role itself have enough name brand recognition to keep afloat and to keep people interested based off of just themselves and their own homegrown Daggerheart system? Because everybody who's buying Daggerheart are people who are fans of Critical Role, which is a lot of people, and some people who are, you know, just wanting to explore and try out Daggerheart because I've heard of it. But most people, when they get into TTRPGs, do not go immediately to things like Call of Cthulhu, Pathfinder, or Daggerheart. They go to Dungeons & Dragons. And then when people want to watch people play Dungeons & Dragons, they will look up like Dungeons & Dragons on YouTube, and they will find Critical Role. But now with Campaign 4, that's not going to be happening anymore. So are we going to see people still watching Critical Role even though it's not Dungeons & Dragons anymore? And if we are, how many of those are new viewers tuning into Critical Role, or is it just the established audience they already have? Because the point I'm trying to make is that as a company, in order for a company to grow, you need to constantly be getting new people involved in your product. But if Critical Role is no longer broadcasting on Dungeons & Dragons, they're broadcasting on Daggerheart, how many new people can they get involved now? Or have they already reached that ceiling, and the audience that's going to be watching Critical Role Campaign 4 from here on out is people who already knew of Critical Role? Have they already reached the ceiling of broad reach? And if they haven't, are they now cutting themselves off from that by not playing Dungeons & Dragons anymore? Personally, I don't think so, because Dungeons & Dragons as a game is just in the shitter right now with their new launch. That's a video I'm going to be talking about pretty soon, but I'm curious to know what you think.